Hi, sweeties. How are you doing? Welcome to Naya Sim, and thank you all so much for all the love and support. Hope you all are doing great. So today we'll be talking something very important, and it's about a video that I came across, and now it's really amazing how people try to hide some certain things or make it look like Black people have, from the onset have been living the life, enjoying themselves, and there is nothing like racism towards them and all that. And also they are trying so hard to make it look like we are making most of these things up. And how are we making it up when we all know that America was founded on racism? How can we be making it up? We are not making it up. I'm looking around all the stories surrounding this about Medicare and how they do not want Black people, to get a better health care and or maybe get it at a cheaper rate and all that. Now look at this from this angle. If they are not making Medicare and all that, if they're not subsidizing it, or if it is not free, you also find out that we are not getting it. Black people are not getting it free, and palm-colored people are not getting it free too. So we are suffering, and they are also suffering. It is amazing how they wake up to think that Black people are kind of genetically not so sound than they are, right? But they are scared of the sun. I mean, they were the ones that made me know that there is what they call sun poisoning. Because all of a sudden the sun that you go under and you are fine. You know what? Let's get into this video.
Hey, good morning, Nikki Haley. Remember when you said that America is not and has never been a racist nation? Well, if that's the case, why don't we have universal health care? The answer is simple. Racism. See, in the 1880s, white America had a problem that they just couldn't solve, which they called the Negro problem. They said that in 1865, we whites gave the blacks their freedom. We also passed slave codes, black codes, and Jim Crow laws to prevent their upward mobility in this country. And now here we are in the 1880s, and we don't understand why these Negroes haven't done anything with themselves. We gave them their freedom. What more do they want? And white people at the time said, well, they're genetically inferior to us. So if we simply deny them health care, they'll die off in a generation or two, and that will solve white America's Negro problem. Don't believe me? Watch this.
It really began in the 1880s, 1890s, when medicine became a thing. And there was this guy named Frederick Ludwig Hoffman who came over here from Germany. And he was a young man. He was 17, in fact, when he came over, and was a numbers genius. And he hooked up with the Prudential Life Insurance Company, ended up being a vice president. And he was the guy who figured out that there was an association, a statistical association between working in a cotton mill and having lung problems, asbestos and mesothelioma, smoking and lung cancer. He published on that in the 1910s, in the 1890s and 1910s. And diet and cancer. In fact, his book on the association between a high processed food diet and cancer is still in print. And he's been dead since 1946, but his book is still around. So he's really smart in these things. And so he married this Southern belle from Georgia who was from a racist plantation family. And so he ran the numbers on Black people and found that Black people were dying, dropping like flies, more likely to be sick, more likely to die of pretty much everything. And concluded, which was the general consensus at the time among a lot of white people in the South, this is again in the 1890s, that Black people were genetically inferior. And in 1896, he published a book called Race, Tendencies, and Traits of the American Negro, in which he lays out all the numbers, and then he concludes that if we simply avoided allowing Black people to have any access to health care, that within 2 or 3 generations, the whole race would die out, and that would solve the race problem in America. Now, it sounds kind of crazy when I just lay it out like that right now, but this led to a whole bunch of things. By the 1920s, this was referred to as scientific racism. He was testifying about it before Congress. When Teddy Roosevelt, 1912, proposed a national health care system, people said no because black people will get it. When Franklin Roosevelt proposed a national health care system, it was the same thing. We don't want black people to get it. When Truman tried it in 1947, same thing. Don't want black people to get it. Right up until 1965, Senator Stennis, the Dixiecrats in the South, was quoting Hoffman, who was by then dead, but is still very famous in this field, as saying this. We have to figure out a way to keep black people from using Medicare. This is when they were passing Medicare, and the way that they came up with was to have a 20% hole, a gap in Medicare, so that you had to pay 20% of your doctor's bill and your hospital bill, and that would discourage poor black people from showing up at the hospitals. I mean, it was the most shocking thing I discovered, Cenk, when I was doing the research on this book, is that nearly 100% of the reason why the United States is the only country in the world that doesn't define healthcare as a right and doesn't have any sort of national healthcare system to speak of is because of racism. And that's why you've got 12 states that still haven't expanded Medicaid, right? Free health insurance for low-income people, all former slave states.
One of those states is South Carolina, the state you currently govern. Matter of fact, you said as long as I'm the governor of South Carolina, we will not expand Medicaid on Obama's watch. We will not expand Medicaid ever. You also said that we fought the Affordable Care Act in South Carolina as much as we possibly could. We said no to the state exchanges. We said no to the Medicaid expansion. They just turned and set every state back with this bill that we knew wouldn't work. When it came to the Affordable Care Act, we just didn't say no, we said never. And we're going to keep on fighting until we get people like Senator Tim Scott and everybody else in Congress to defund the Affordable Care Act. You also said that you would end a disastrous health care program and replace it with reforms that lowered costs and actually let you keep your doctor. You vowed to never expand Medicaid coverage as long as you were the governor of South Carolina, which left millions of your constituents uninsured and forced them to pay crazy amounts of money out of pocket in order to receive the essential care they needed to survive. Why are you fighting so hard to ensure the people of South Carolina don't have access to adequate health care? Is it because you're afraid, like they were in the 1910s, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, that black people would have access to affordable health care? Is that your fear? If so, Nikki Haley, that's racist.
So this is all I got from here. Right from time, we all already know how racist this is, the whole system has been. But there are some things you see, you're kind of confused, because if there is a free medical care, or if it is subsidized, everybody is going to have access to it. It's not like it's only black people that will have access to it. Literally both black and white, we have access to it, right? But as it stands right now, they do not want to do it because they feel like black people are going to benefit a whole lot from it. And then for that reason, you all already know what their purpose has been. Their purpose was to kind of make black people not to benefit from it. But now you all see how the sun is just like one thing that is also very, very dangerous for them. We go under the sun, they say, because we are melanated or we have melanin and all that. But they are very scared of the sun. I mean, they actually made it, all of a sudden I noticed that there is what they call swine poisoning, which I never knew that existed or something like that. But yeah, there is what they call sun poisoning. And white people were the ones that made me know that there is something like sun poisoning. It is really just very, very amazing. You all see what has been going on. America and Israel, America has been sending a lot of aid for Israel and all that. And Israel, they have been sending all these aids to have free medicals, right? But the people sending the aids to them do not have it. That also will kind of let you know, or will kind of like, you know, enlighten you more on how they do not want people like me to benefit a whole lot from the medicals and the whole lot of it. It's, I don't know, but I find there are some things you see, you think it's kind of stupidity, or you think it's selfishness. I don't know what to call it. But man, we both are going through it all. We do not have free medicals, like palm colored also do not have it. So who is killing who, or who is doing who? So we are both going through it, right? But come to think of it, why are they defending this idea of America is not a racist country? And the fact that they are telling us that it is better than it used to be. You all knew that America was founded on race. It is not something that is new. It is just like an old thing that it's not new, right? It's not something you can defend. It's not something you can hide. It's been there and it is still there to this very moment. So the fact that some people try as much as they can to like try to cut corner or try to make some certain things look better or make sound better, it's just something I really do not understand. But yeah, you all saw that. And still, they will come out to tell us that it is not a racist country. But they have been fighting all their lives to make sure that we, people that look like me, do not get anything better. And people will still come out and say that the system is not working against black people. Like, what is there left? What is left for you to it's glaring, it's obvious, you know? But yeah, that is all I got to say. Yeah, I have been traveling, and you all can see that from my background and all that. So see you all in my next video. I love you all. Bye for now.